Continuing on with our reflections on Our Lady, the Blessed Mother. The reflection today is on the actual feast of the Immaculate Conception. The holy day in the Christian calendar. This is the one about which there is the greatest misunderstanding. The Immaculate Conception is not that of Jesus Christ. It is that of Mary, the Christ's mother. She is the one who is, quote, born without sin, close quote. For the Son of God could never be born of an imperfect vessel. On this day, we celebrate the conception and birth of Mary, who was raised in a convent from 6-year-old onward. For, quote, they knew she was destined to great things which she must be learned and of a humble servant both, close quote. With this child woman, this dichotomy of labels, this oxymoron of contradictions, the Father sent his messenger, the Archangel Gabriel, to tell her of her role, chosen before her conception to be his Son's mother. And on this night she will become with child without having known man. So before she is conceived, it is done without sin. And then he is conceived without man. So it is holy. So both conceptions are done without sin. Hers is without sin of human. Hers is without sin of man. Thy will be done, she replied, going to her knees in prayer and bowing. I am thy handmaiden. She receives gifts and rewards for her entire family, as should be done when the King of Heaven is courting. And her cousin Elizabeth, long thought barren, quote, I love this one, now old and beyond her years. She was 34 years old, which is quite old when people died by 45 years old and started giving birth at 12. But Elizabeth was 6 months pregnant, quote, with a soul so great that only your child Mary will outshine him, close quote. And who was Elizabeth's son? That was Jesus' cousin? John the Baptist. These two greatest souls grew up playing together until each was ready to answer his calling. But it all started about 17 years prior with the conception without sin of, quote, the vessel that would carry the jewel of the heavens, close quote. All of these quotations come from gospel and come from the various prophets' books within the Bible. So all of these are biblical quotes. If you take them and Google them, they'll come up in just a second. They're well known. But I sometimes get tired of putting the quotations in here. Yes, I get lazy. And even though when we hear about John's ministry, it always sounds like he's older than Jesus. He left Elizabeth about 6 years before Jesus left Mary and Joseph to start his ministry. And then John became kind of a strange character, living in the desert, a bit of a hermit for a time, as he learned the prophet's way and took in the gospel through God. When they say in yesterday's gospel how he wore a tunic and was tied with a leather belt and had sandals on his feet, but beyond that he was very rough, and he did not look highborn. He looked like he was a hermit from the desert. He lived that way because that is the way that was proclaimed for him. Jesus, when he met him again, recognized his cousin immediately because they were boys together. They went to school together. They were everything. They were all but brothers together until the age of about 12 or 13, which is when John left. Jesus was still around home until his early 20s. But they knew each other and loved each other. But they both knew they had a destiny. They had a calling that was greater than themselves. And they both knew that they would die and meet again in the kingdom of God. Peace be with all of you. I'll see you tomorrow.